Hey, Baruch Halevi, Rabbi B from Soul Centered. Thanks for tuning in. I want to talk about a topic that I know I've spoken about before, although I went to look for the video and I couldn't find it. I've been creating a lot of content, so I'll just keep giving it over and over again. That's what clergy do. I was told we all have about 5 good sermons in us, and we repackage them in 5,000 different ways. If I have one sermon, it is this, and hopefully it's not a sermon. Hopefully it's more inspiring than that. The power of why. Why? Why do you do what you do, right? Why? What is your why? To know your why, to live your why. If I can think of one thing that has gotten me through my challenging times, that has given me purpose and direction in my life and helped guide other people, it is to know our why, to articulate our why, to love our why, to live our why. So even though I've spoken about it many times before, I'm going to speak about it many times more. And I'm actually going to do a series around it because of all the topics I do, this one is the most responded to over and over again. My clients or people that turn to Soul Centered for programs or content, they reply to this particular topic. It resonates with them. I actually work with people on finding their why. It's one of the first things I'll ask somebody when we begin working together in logotherapy and in meaning-centered living. And that is, what's your why? And so often, almost invariably, people kind of are caught off guard by it. They don't know their why. Yes, they can share pieces of their why. They're a spouse, a husband or a wife, or a parent or a child, they're a sibling, they're Christian or Jew or American or doctor or whatever they might be, and they start talking about that. But then I start digging a little deeper and beneath that, and what's beneath that, and you get to this point where they just haven't been asked to chart that territory. They know it. It's like a sixth sense. They've been living it, but it's not enough. Particularly when we come to one of life's crossroads, one of these kind of challenging moments, these defining moments, it's not enough to have a vague sense of your why. It is during those moments where you have got to know your why. And I come back to Viktor Frankl. I always come back to Viktor Frankl. He is a mentor, teacher, and the founder of logotherapy. And really that is where I center my work around logotherapy, meaning-centered living and therapy, and also Kabbalah, the Jewish mystical path. And I'm doing a lot of podcasting and writing around that, what I call the defiant spirit. The defiant spirit really comes down to knowing your why. And Dr. Frankl talks about that he or she, well, actually, Friedrich Nietzsche has the quote, he or she, I'll add she, who knows their why can endure anyhow. And Dr. Frankl just kind of repackages that in his book, Man's Search for Meaning. I'm going to quote it. He says, he who has a why to live for can bear almost anyhow. He quotes Nietzsche. But what he says is this particular line, not just as a quote, but to know that line, to live that line, was the difference maker between those who gave up, those who lost their way, those who ultimately succumbed to the darkness, to the suffering, to the struggles, and those who survived. Now, of course, luck played a part in it and all kinds of factors beyond one's control. But at the end of the day, one of, if not the defining factors, those who lived and those who died, was those who knew their why to live for. I have seen this played out over and over again. I counsel people through life's hell quite often. I've officiated at hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of funerals, and I have seen that you can see it, a sparkle in somebody's eye when they know their why. And it is that why that gets them through the hell of a loss of a loved one, or a divorce, or an illness, or you fill in the blank. But when you come to one of those crossroads, to know your why is the beginning point to allow you to endure your hell. And when I say this to very successful people out in the world, what's your why? Now, they can't usually tell me their why as it relates to their personal life mission and purpose, but they can tell me if they're business people. No company operates anymore in this day and age, certainly not successfully, profitably, without knowing a why, having a why. Again, Simon Sinek's book, The Power of Why really talks about that's the difference maker between good and great companies. That's another book, Good to Great. But what he says ultimately is great companies know their why. I would say people who live a great life know their why. And you can see it again when they come to that defining, paralyzing, painful moment of life's crossroads, of the darkness. When they know their why, they can endure their how. And more than just life's crisis crossroads, as I'll sometimes refer to them, during the good times, right? It's important to know your why. It's important to know what you stand for. It's important to know what you believe, right? And to have articulated it. Again, I don't want to leave it as an abstraction. So one of the things I'll do with clients is we'll write their why. For me, I think I've shared with you before, I have it down to 3 paragraphs. I'm an Enneagram 8. I'm an overachiever. You don't have to have 3 paragraphs of a why. It can be as minimal as a word, right? That word can take you can take with you into very difficult, challenging times. So, for instance, if I had to boil down a word, I would boil my why down to one word: responsibility. Which is really what logotherapy is all about. It's about helping people take responsibility for their life, for their purpose, for their choices, their decisions. But more than just responsibility. Responsibility, as Dr. Frankl talks about, is the ability to respond. Responsibility, right? To not live in reaction, but to be able to respond to life, whatever it brings my way. So I'll just use that as a mantra sometimes of responsibility, right? Responsibility. Don't react, B. Don't react. I want to react. The guy just cut me off in traffic, or the person just, pissed me off, or I'm hungry and I'm just going to react and get something to eat. And I know, it's not, the fast food is not good for me. Don't react. Responsibility. Now, if you want to eat the junk food, if you want to give the guy the half the peace sign because he cut you off in traffic, okay, low level living, but we're human. But at least do it consciously. Although once you become conscious, it's kind of hard to give somebody the bird in traffic or eat the junk food. But we don't always live that way. So we can have a word as a mantra, as a reminder of my why. That's mine. You'll find your word. It can expand into a sentence. It should expand into a sentence. So I have 3 paragraphs. I'll just share with you one. My mission is to serve, protect, provide for, honor, and love my wife, my children, my family, my friends, my community, my clients, my country, my tribe. And you're part of my tribe. If you're watching this, I recite that over and over and over again. So I expand that, and I'll say it over and over and over when I come to a crossroads where I forget what I'm doing, or I'm bombarded by all kinds of outside circumstances that if I wasn't conscious, I'd be pulled off my center. I'd be pulled down a path of really not my choosing, but one that was chosen for me. And so I'll recite this. My mission is to serve, protect, provide for, honor, and love. And I'll go down this path and I'll remind myself of you and of them, my family, and of my friends. And that will be enough to bring me back to my center, to my why. I'm not going to share with you all 3 of my paragraphs, but I'll expand it out to a paragraph with the client, and we'll develop that one line into a paragraph. And so that when you come to these moments, it's, some people would say it's rote recitation, and that maybe doesn't strike people as the most motivating thing. But trust me, when you're at one of these crossroads, you don't have time for creativity. You certainly don't have time to figure out your why on the fly. When I've been in the hospital a couple times, or when I've been in an emergency situation on an airplane, you hit the turbulence, right? You go to the things that are rote, that you can recite from your heart. So for a Christian, it might be, the Lord's Prayer. For a Jew, it might be the Shema. For me, it's my mission statement. And I'll just say it. I'll find myself reciting it as this kind of mantra to refocus me towards where I want to go. And if I'm not driving the plane, flying the plane, and it's going down, obviously it didn't go down, but it felt like it was at the time, then I reorient myself to what I do control. And I don't control the turbulence. I don't control the engines. What I control is my response to the situation. I control my response, and that comes down to my why. That's my why. What's your why? Would love to help you find your why, to articulate your why, and most of all, to live your why. So shoot me an email. Would love to hear from you about your why. Would love to learn a little more of your why, how you found your why, how you articulate your why, and share your why. But that's what we're all here to do, to know our why, to love our why, to live our why. I'm going to continue on with this conversation, I am sure. Maybe not the next video, but stay tuned. There will be more. So if you like it, great. There will be more for you. And if you don't like it, then don't tell me that you don't like it. Just skip over, because you got like 100 other videos to choose from. Until the next time, I'm Baruch Levi, Rabbi B. Get out there and know your why, and live your why, and love your why. Shalom, salam. Namaste. Peace.